Morning, folks. Welcome back to Threes in. Bobo here. So I kind of got off on a thread about the airlines here this morning. I'm going to go ahead and continue on. We had this rule, it's an FAA rule, that once you began the checklist or once you closed the doors, you kind of were on the clock, if you will. You began the checklist. There was no other chatter allowed in the cockpit until you got above 10,000 feet. We had a system they referred to as a sterile cockpit. And then coming back downhill, once you got to 10,000 feet, nothing other than mission essential communication. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy to understand. But man, I struggled with that. God, I struggled with that. There were times I just couldn't help ad-libbing. It's my nature. I see something, I don't know. Always knew the consequence if something happened and they reviewed the tapes. I was going to get hammered. Probably the only guy in the airline ever did that. I'll give you that much myself. But in looking back at it, I think to myself, some of the feedback that I got, I've had more than one or two guys, quite a few actually, get off the airplane at the end of a trip and say, sir, you were probably one of the funniest guys I've ever flown with. And it wasn't I was up there telling jokes or this, that, or the other. I was just up there ad-libbing about what I saw going on in life, whether it be in politics or in the theater or in the company, this, that, or the other. Sometimes I just couldn't help myself. One example, I did enjoy mentoring young aviators. I had this one kid once from what do they call that? The regionals come up, and he was a good kid, and we kind of clicked. But he had been a chief pilot at Schmuckenfuss Airways, and so he was just a little bit full of himself. But anyway, I was on the 9, of course, and we were on the 9 at that time, and I would offer. I know I'm not a certified instructor. I get that, okay, but I'd offer him little tips on things that I found useful to fly the jet. And at some point, he copped an attitude like, "You're not an instructor. You're not a check airman. I can figure this out myself." Okay, thank you very much. So we go rolling into Traverse City one afternoon, and he came in, and I had talked to him about techniques that I used in landing, not procedures. You can't deviate from procedure, but techniques. So he comes in, and he just prangs a thing on the runway. Boom! Hard landing, no, but another couple feet per second, it would have been a hard landing. Okay, right there in that area there. So we come in and prang it on. Not a word was said. We taxi to the gate, shut the engines down, and he looks over at me and he says, "I suppose now you're going to bust my balls for the landing." I said, no, I wouldn't think of that. I said, "You pretty well got a handle on everything." I said, "I'll just let you stand in the doorway and say goodbye to the people. Take credit for that." So he just kind of looked at me and rolled his eyes. And we got along pretty good after that. I flew with another guy that I can't remember who it was. I wish I could. But boy, I enjoyed flying with him. And I'd come out with little quips every now and then. And he couldn't help himself. He'd think about what I'd said. He'd just start laughing. And so we were coming into Detroit, last leg of the trip. Beautiful day, mid-morning, around 11 o'clock. And so we're coming in. He says, "Captain Holliker," he says, "would you just mind sitting over there and not saying anything?" He says, "We got a great day." He says, "just sit over there and kind of keep quiet." I said, "Not a problem." So we're coming down final, and we're in DC-9. we're coming down final. And we get about 4 miles out, and I said, okay. I said, we got winds down the runway at 10 to 12 knots. I said, clear skies, sun shining, just a beautiful day into the last landing on the trip. And I looked over at him and I said, I've never seen anybody screw up a landing in conditions like this. Bam! It's still funny. Got him thinking about it. He said, thanks a lot. Just thanks a lot. But anyway, like I said, there's several times I'm glad they didn't check the tapes. Holy crap. And I'm glad they're only good for 30 minutes, too. Today, I don't know. They probably record the whole trips. Anyway, I enjoyed flying. I enjoyed the T-38 because they didn't have either voice or visual recorders, video recorders. I think they got both now. I don't know if they do or not, but it'd be awful tough today. I think, I'll tie it up here with, I've got a good friend of mine, Doug C., who was one of the instructors in my pre-ped class. And Doug was out getting ready to go, and with a student there at Randolph one morning, and he had a stuck mic, and he didn't know he had a stuck mic. He called for taxi, and the mic stuck or something like that. And he started going off on the squadron commander, what a jerk he was, this, that, the other. He's got a stuck mic. And oh my God, good that that went out all over the base, if you will. And he came down, and as he listened to the squadron commander challenge him on what he had to say, he didn't have a speaking part. But Doug was getting out and heading to the airline, so he didn't really too much care, but it did... it was kind of humbling, if you will. So, I think I've rambled on here enough. It's good to see everybody. This is Bobo Base Gear. Stop.